This episode is brought to you by Liquid IV. The hot summer months are back, and Liquid IV is here to make sure you stay hydrated. One stick can help hydrate you 2 times faster and more efficiently than regular water. Plus, it has 5 essential vitamins, including vitamin C. Right now, you can get 25% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use code BOLD at checkout. That's liquidiv.com with the promo code BOLD.
This episode is brought to you by Sleep Number. It's summertime, where long days and hot nights make it harder to get the quality sleep you need. Sleep IQ data shows sleepers who use their Sleep Number 360 smart bed technology get almost 30 minutes more restful sleep per night. That's up to 170 hours per year. Discover how to get a more restful sleep each night by visiting your local Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com/Spotify. Sleep Number takes care of the science. All you have to do is sleep.
What's up, everyone? I'm Wild.
I'm Seth.
I'm Jacob.
And we're the host of TMZ Verified, a new hit podcast about digital creators and influencer news.
Every week, we interview the hottest social media stars about their love, life, drama, career, and so much more.
We're also giving you a weekly roundup of the biggest trending stories so you stay in the know and your feed stay up to date. Tune into TMZ Verified every Wednesday for free for a rundown in all things pop culture.
Check out TMZ Verified every Wednesday on Spotify. We'll catch you soon.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All Too Real 2. My name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me, as always, via Zoom is
Sesame, Amit, and Carter. And by the way, it's not through Zoom anymore.
I forgot about that. We're on Google Meet because Zoom decided to limit their time to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with you, Zoom, if you're listening.
Which is bullshit, because how many meetings only go on for 40 minutes?
Well, that's why they try to get you to upgrade and pay for longer.
Yeah.
But yeah. Nobody's going to pay for it, unless you're like a company with a bunch of employees, and then it makes sense to pay for it because you have a bunch of employees.
Yeah. But even then, they probably find a workaround.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Or they just carry out their meetings through carrier pigeon.
Yeah, there's that.
Smoke signals,
Yeah.
I'd be like, should we send a copy of that report to Mr. Jenkins? And then they send a smoke signal saying yes.
And then, that takes like an hour or two to get back. And, it takes things a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Or you could do the Harry Potter method, just like send owls.
Yes.
Which never really made sense to me. It's like you're in a magical world where you can pretty much do anything through magic, but yet your means of communication are sending letters to owls and having them travel like across the country to deliver said message.
And this is the same world we live in, really, technically. If you watch it, so it's modern times. It's not like it's stuck in the past, so they could just email people.
See, that's what I never understood about that book or that series. Much like I don't understand the author of said books and her political views. Anyway,
email people, pick up the telephone, something. It'd be a lot easier. But anyways, speaking of things that kind of make sense and kind of don't, the Moon Knight episode 6 finale here. That's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
So, initial thoughts here.
It was alright. I didn't like it that much the first time I watched it, and then I watched it again, and then we didn't review it last week, so I didn't watch it again for like another week, but then I just rewatched it just now for a third time, so I still don't like it as much as episode 5, but I do think it's a decent episode overall.
It was decent, but it's still the whole Marvel not knowing how to stick a landing really well, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially with their shows, TV shows.
And sometimes their movies where you got the formulaic thing. I mean, with the exception of you didn't really have necessarily a formula when it came to Doctor Strange, but
yeah.
But a lot of the, this had the same kind of formula. It's, we got a evil monster we got to fight at the end.
Yeah,
like
and then they had that, and they even had like a Shang-Chi type of moment where Amit is like physically getting larger from all of like the corrupt souls that she's eating, which reminded me of Shang-Chi when those bat-like creatures were stealing the souls of people and feeding it to it literally reminded me of the exact same thing. Like,
I've got comments to bring up about that when we get to that point.
Okay. Sorry if I ruined it already.
No, you're good. I just, I've got a thought, and I just got to remember to bring it up. Just remind me. So.
Oh, I will.
Okay, so, what went down in this episode?
Mark is in the field of reeds, and Arthur and his people drag Mark's body out of the little puddle that he's in, and they take the Upshati or Upshati or Ushpati, forgot the name of how to pronounce it. Ushpati of Amit that he was holding in his hand. And Arthur does like his whole apology thing where he's like, I'm sorry that it had to be this way or whatever. Marc Spector, Stephen Grant, or whoever else might be living in there. And then Layla kills one of the henchmen, and Arthur hears something, but he just, I guess, ignores it, whatever, I don't know. And then he goes off, in his merry way to, release Amit. And then, meanwhile, Mark is in the field of reeds, just sort of soaking in, his moment of peace that he's really never had throughout his life, or most of his life.
Every time you say Field of Reeds, the Sting song Field of Golds pops in my hand.
Oh, really?
Field of Gold. It's a good song.
Wow.
Look it up.
Yeah, I will. I never heard it. Talaret's there with them, and then Mark decides to go back to be with Steven because he doesn't think it's fair that he gets to have a peaceful afterlife, but Steven is frozen in sand out there because we don't really know what that implies. Is that if someone's frozen in sand, are they still technically alive and they're just stuck there? So they're pretty much being tormented in the body that they can't move.
It's not really explained. I mean, it's
right.
I guess it's different in a way for Mark and Steven because they're kind of one person but two people. It's
yeah, but so Mark's heart was balanced, yeah, and then Steven. Well, the thing is too, Steven's heart could have been balanced too, but he jumped off the boat, so that's how he ended up out. So his was sort of an accidental type of thing, but so he goes back and. Talaret says, it doesn't really quite work that way because you're manifesting your afterlife. That's what she said, you're manifesting it. So that kind of gives credence to some of the theories that were out there about, the ancestral plane and stuff of, if this is actually really happening or if this is sort of just, in the imagination of the person, what they want to see or what they've been conditioned that they're supposed to see, So, in the case of Black Panther, he was told that's what the ancestral plane looks like, so therefore, to him, that's actually what it does look like, even though it might not look like anything really, but just his consciousness projects, that. That's kind of an interesting little point,
My other question here about this is okay, so if you hang, you asked this before on previous episode, do you just hang out in that field of gold? Field of reeds, if you're like, going to quote unquote heaven.
See, I think that's like the entrance, because I can imagine, that being very enjoyable for too long.
That really would be much more enjoyable than hanging out in a field of sand.
Not really, yeah, exactly. I mean, well, I guess it would have more sunlight, but yeah, that's about it. Mm-hmm. And plus, too, how come there's no one else there? So is he the only person that's allowed to be there? You think they would see other people also in the field of reeds?
Or do you have your own separate field?
Yeah, well, maybe you only see yourself at the time. Who knows? I think it was really supposed to be like an entrance point that you go into. That's like the sort of
the gate.
Like, yeah, I think that's what it was meant to be. So he was kind of just sort of taking it in, hanging out for a while, which makes sense. I mean, if you're going into heaven, it might be a little bit of a shock to just immediately go, so like you gotta have like a little easing in,
just like if you're going to a Detroit Tigers game, you don't want to go immediately into, Comerica Park. You need to go through that gate to get into it, right? It's the same thing, right? No.
Kinda. I mean, I don't know. I'd be okay with just manifesting into the field, but like whatever. And then, so yeah, he goes back for Steven. He gives some like really nice speech about how Steven had always been there for him since they were kids, and how he was the one that pretty much saved him from like a life of misery. Well, I mean, he still had a life of misery, but pretty much saved him from like, killing himself or whatever, and that he was his only superpower that he ever had. So that was kind of a nice little moment. And then he puts his heart on top of Steven's hand, and then it glows, and then they both... Mark turns into sand with Steven, but then Steven gets back to normal, and then Mark gets back to normal, and then the gates, or the door opens to go back to the earthly plane. And but then the sand starts like rising to like claim them both, but then Tolerette in the boat like crashes into the sand to like stop it from like consuming them. So they like, then they go through the door, and then that's when Mark wakes up, from the puddle that he was in, because I forgot to mention, so like Arthur like put like the scarab onto Mark's chest. I don't know if that's supposed to be like an ancient Egyptian rite or something like that. And then Layla steals the scarab to like follow Arthur and his people to find Amit, because now they know where Amit is, so he just scarab, which seemed like an almost convenient thing too, because it's like, why would you give up the scarab even though you knew where Amit was? Like, why would you just keep it around with you anyway? I mean, that's like saying, oh well, I guess like saying he shot Mark with the gun, so now he's just gonna drop the gun and not keep it. Like, why wouldn't you just keep it with you anyway? But whatever. So that was kind of convenient.
Of some kind.
Yeah. So Layla, she takes a scarab and it guides her, to wherever they're going. And then she finds them at like the temple where they were before, when they had like the conference or the sort of interrogation of Khonshu. And Arthur kills all the avatars, including the really nice one that told Mark about the how to find the what was it, that dude,
that sarcophagus.
Yeah. So even her, which I was hoping that she would have stayed alive, but no. And then he goes into his whole speech about how the gods have been hiding things from humanity, blah blah blah, the whole villain speech, And then he releases her. My theory was true, by the way. Well, partly true. Where when Amit is resurrected, she says that Arthur's scales are imbalanced or unbalanced.
Yeah.
And then Arthur was willing to accept, her decision
whatever
because
his outcome was. Yeah.
Yeah, which that was my original theory from like way back in episode 1. But the twist is that she didn't kill him, so that's the twist. But which is interesting. So, by the way, the CGI is great. Amit looks really cool. She says his death is delayed if he serves her as her avatar, her official avatar, because at this point he just was like a sort of self-proclaimed avatar, I guess, of Amit's. But and she says, your scales are unbalanced for what lies ahead, but what lies ahead is your service to me. But then, well, why would his scales be unbalanced by serving her? Because the whole point of Amit is like extreme, like perfect justice. So why would him being her avatar make his scales unbalanced and then worthy of death? Like, that literally makes no sense. Whatever. Okay, that's an academic point, I guess. But and then she says, "Oh well, I once entrusted myself to someone whose scales balanced perfectly, and then for that I was imprisoned for 2,000 years." So it's like, well, wait a minute. Your whole argument and line of logic is that you dispense perfect justice. Everything's about scales balancing, but you're saying that your previous avatar, whose scales were perfect, betrayed you, but yet you want someone whose scales are unbalanced to serve you. Well, that completely goes against your entire line of reasoning.
So was this perfect person Alexander the Great then?
Yeah, I'm assuming that's the one she meant, because that was what they. And
I just don't know if I would see him as being perfect.
Well, that's what. Well, maybe in her mind, he was like setting up like a sort of world order, I guess, because technically he did conquer the known world at that point, and maybe in her mind that would lead to like a more civilized society where there's like a trade route and people can sort of, I don't know. I mean, exactly.
Technically, though, he like committed a genocide and other things. Well, but maybe
it just goes to show that she's kind of a hypocrite, really.
Or that the people that he killed were people that she wanted him to kill. I don't know.
I mean, I guess you could argue that all those people just so happen to be people that would do something bad in the future. So she was like telling him the exact people to kill. That still doesn't make any sense, because it wasn't like Alexander the Great personally was going around killing people in battle. He had soldiers, so what? He was telling each soldier, I only kill this specific person on the battlefield. How would you even manage that in the heat of battle?
Hitler or any other, leader in history who has people following them in a, military. They're not personally killing everybody.
Exactly. I mean, he may have himself been in the battles himself, but when you're fighting around like hundreds or thousands of people, there's no way you're going to just be able to target like the exact right people. It's just not. So that was a flaw in the writing. Fine, whatever. Fine, TV. Well. It's fine. That's probably who she meant, or she could have meant someone else, and maybe Alexander the Great was a previous avatar, and then the one after him maybe was the one that betrayed. They put it in his sarcophagus. Who knows? But
as a hiding place. Yeah, it's hard to say. Do we get to the point where Layla becomes a temporary avatar yet?
No. So she so she goes. She finds where they released her, and she finds the Upsashi of Khonshu and throws on the floor, and he tries to ask her to be his new avatar, and she's like, no way, like I'm not doing this. Like you turned Marc's life into a waking nightmare. It's like, I'm not gonna he's like, well, it's the only way we can take on Anna, and she's like, no, I'm just not gonna do it. So then he just disappears.
And then she becomes Towerette's or Towerette, however you pronounce it, temporary avatar.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, her costume was sweet when she was in that. Even though I did find it to look a lot like the golden costume that Wonder Woman wore in Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh, okay. See, I haven't seen that one yet.
You should. I mean, it's worth watching. It's not as good as the first Wonder Woman, but it's good.
Okay.
Yeah. It's better than all the reviews seem to say it was, in my opinion. But
yeah, I always just avoid reading reviews until after I've watched something.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of turning me off at first, and then I ended up watching it like a year after it came out or something. So.
But you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. So what I understand though about her costume is, so are the gods just able to like make any kind of costume they want? Because I thought with Moon Knight it made sense because he's like like it seemed like connected to.
I mean, it
himself. You know what I mean? Like,
I partially think maybe the costume just fits the person. Or personality, because like that's why Moon Knight has two different costumes, at least that we've seen so far.
Right. Okay. Because I was wondering about that, because the beetle thing, that's got nothing to do with Taweret. So I was wondering, because that's what her dad used to call her, as a little scarab.
There was no John Paul, George, or Ringo there either, so it was confusing the hell out of me.
Well, yeah, because they're off being the avatars of other gods, so
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Not the Egyptian. They're more of like the Indian gods because they were really into like Indian mysticism for a while. So like
sitar music,
George, George probably like the avatar of like Krishna or something like that, or whatever. John is like the avatar of like
Jaguru Deva,
or something like that.
No, it's.
Which I think Shiva is actually supposed to be Krishna in a different form anyway, whatever. Well, I think Shiva is the actual god, because Hinduism kind of deals with avatars too, kind of. This is where they kind of got the idea, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think Shiva is the actual god, but then Krishna became the human avatar of Shiva on Earth, but then basically became his own god, essentially. Like, so like, I guess Shiva's powers were just like permanently in him. I don't know. And then, pretty interesting. But yeah, so George is Krishna, but whatever. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Anyways,
yeah, I'm just kind of going off here.
We should write our own fan fiction with that.
Yeah.
Anyways, with that Layla becomes the avatar for Taweret. So Mark and Steven encounter her and are very surprised by her newfound abilities, and she protects Mark from having his soul taken away. Steven just gushes over her appearance like he does. Which I thought was funny. Anyways, they use their abilities together to try to take down Harrow and his followers. So they battle as Mr. Knight and Moon Knight both. And then they overwhelm Harrow. But basically, they end up losing their advantage as Harrow uses Mark's trauma against him to take him down.
Yeah.
So, both Khonshu and Mark are pinned down in this fight. When you've got like what I was going to bring up is you've got like these huge avatars or not avatars, but of big Khonshu and Ahmet fighting each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Godzilla and King Kong just fighting each other. When I watched it, that's what I'm sitting here thinking. Like,
yeah, I was wondering about that.
A Godzilla movie.
And what I think was happening though was that I think this was like an invisible fight that like nobody else could see happening, and what we were really witnessing was Mark and Harrow fighting each other, but then that was like a representation of the actual fight going on between Amit and Khonshu, because it seemed like whenever Harrow had the upper hand, that's when Amit would have the upper hand, and whenever Mark would have the upper hand, Khonshu would. So it seemed like nobody else could see what was going on, because you'd think we see like these huge people fighting each other.
That's what I'm wondering if that's, if other people could see it, or if it was just happening, where only the avatars could see it.
Yeah, and even them didn't seem like they were paying attention.
No.
To it either. I don't know. Actually, I'm not sure though, because when Mark, because what happened was, Harrow almost kills Mark, but then the whole flashy thing happens again, and then all of a sudden he's got like the cane on Harrow's head, like he killed him with it or whatever. Basically turned into Jake Lockley essentially, and then or that's at least like the theory, and then there's a bunch of like dead people surrounding him with a bunch of fires, so he's probably did a whole bunch of violent shit and then killed Arthur Harrow. And then but then as we see that though, we see Amit though is dragging Khonshu, so it's like, well, if
that's like
Harrow
it's confusing to think whether we can see it or not. Did you happen to see the Book of Boba Fett TV series?
Well, I saw. I don't know if it was like the 7th episode. I don't know how many episodes there were. I saw the last one that they had, and I haven't checked it in a while. But
okay, because it's only had one season, and I think it was like 7 episodes. But
okay, well I watched
the season finale. I'm pretty sure it was the finale. Had like this big battle where it was kind of Godzilla-ish too, with a big Rancor monster.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I'm just like Disney Plus. Are you just like copying, pasting these things, or what? So.
Well, it seems like they are kind of, because like we're getting into like the monster like aspect of stuff. Like we got like you said, it's kind of like a Godzilla type of thing. We got a lot of tentacle shit going on lately in the Marvel movies. Yeah. Like we got that tentacle monster in Shang-Chi. We sort of had a tentacle-y people in the Eternals. They kind of had like tentacle stuff going on, and then Doctor
Strange. Yeah.
But yeah, Doctor Strange. They even showed that in the trailer, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, tentacle. So it seems like we're going into the tentacle period of the Marvel movies, or so. I don't know.
Is there like a technical department?
Yeah, maybe. They just they have to like have a certain amount of tentacles or whatever they got.
Do you want to take a quick break and then talk about the rest of this?
Sure.
Back? Okay, we'll be right back, folks.
Hey, I'm Jay Remy, host of No Outlet Live. If you're in a podcast that explore any and everything, check us out. We stream anywhere you listen or watch podcasts, or just type No Outlet Live, one word, in your Google search bar to find the show. Live Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook. No Outlet Live, your road to boredom ends here. Do you like Tessa? Do you think this will be a date that can last?
Well, she's not very articulate.
And we are back. In black.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
It sure is.
Well, at least I'm wearing a black t-shirt. I don't know. Anyway, so...
yeah, I think I am too. I'm wearing a Pink Floyd black t-shirt.
I'm wearing My Name is Earl black t-shirt.
Cool.
Yeah, so...
You know what we're not wearing, though? We're not wearing white t-shirts to symbolize white supremacy. You which
like the people down the street from where I live.
Yeah, we're doing a rally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a rally is a generous term because there's like 7 people, but like whatever.
Got like a half a dozen to a dozen people. It's kind of
hard to say. Kind of sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But in this day and age, it's just sad that those exist. Like where they think that, with signs that say like no, I mean only white babies and you will replace the white man.
Oh yeah, we're so like it's just like so sad where it's like how insecure you are and how much you're projecting to the world, like all of your insecurities. Like it's like you get like almost secondhand embarrassment from watching it. 'Cause it's like oh man, like they really don't know how much they're revealing about themselves to the outside world. It's like,
but they were not revealing their faces.
Oh, of course not. See, that's the thing. They only wear masks to hide their identity. I'm pretty sure.
And the thing is, it was like 85 degrees out, and they're wearing ski masks outside.
Yeah, well, because they don't want their identities to be shown because they're.
I'm just worried about their health. That's gotta hurt. I mean, that's really.
Well, I'm not worried. I hope they do get sick.
I'm joking when I say I'm worried, but
exactly.
But like I said to somebody earlier that yesterday was Friday the 13th,
right?
So maybe they got confused and thought today was Halloween.
Yeah, that could have been it. Or maybe they meant to do the rally yesterday. Like, oh, it's Friday the 13th. Get it? Spooky.
I mean. It would have been cooler if they were all standing there wearing Jason Voorhees masks. I mean, I'm not saying I'd agree with them, but at least it would have been a different change up in their costumes.
Yeah, they didn't think of it though, but
no, or Michael Myers masks or Freddy Krueger. I mean, just be creative, people.
Just something, yeah.
Be creative with your racism. Anyway, so actually, just stop being racist. That's the most creative thing you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back to the show here. We've got, everybody's fighting. Everybody was kung fu fighting. Everybody was, fast as lightning. That's what it was, right? No.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Layla at one point tells Mark that he has a choice to not kill Arthur Harrow. And
example, they imprison Anna in his body.
Yeah.
With a spell or like a incantation or whatever.
So yeah, we've got after the big kaiju fight going on up in the pyramids, we've got that going on, and then we've got the whole we take we take Amit's soul, put it in Harrow's body like you do, and then because everybody likes to have a Egyptian goddess in your body.
Yeah. Sure.
It's like taking aspirin, you just you're not feeling well, you just take an Egyptian body. Anyway, so
so where's the Egyptian goddess?
Yeah.
Body, that would probably be like one of the most pleasurable experiences in the world. But like anyway,
depends on how you look at it. Yeah. Anyways, so he basically, what ends up happening here? Because you probably know more than I do.
Oh yeah, because I just watched it again. So they do the spell, and it like kind of goes throughout like the statues of like the other gods that are now have no avatars left, I guess, and then it gets into Arthur's body. I think Arthur was dead at this point. I think, and then like it's like you'll never contain me, blah blah blah, whatever, and then Khonshu tells Mark to kill both of them, and then Layla gives the whole speech of like, no, you have a choice, you don't gotta be a killer, blah blah blah. It's like they always save it for the last thing. I hate that in part of movies and shows. It's like the whole show is based on this one final action, and then it's like, we're gonna get up to this point, and we're just not gonna do it. It's like, well, why even have a show then if you just weren't gonna do it? Whatever, fine.
Or why not 4 episodes earlier tell the guy, hey, you don't have to kill people.
Exactly, build it up a little bit. But again, this show had some weird pacing issues. It was fine for the first couple episodes, then the pacing kind of got weird. But whatever. So Mark's like, you could kill. I guess Khonshu still can't do things on his own. That he still needs. I still don't quite understand, how that works. But like. Whatever, and then so he was true to his deal because earlier Steven actually basically negotiated with him for Khonshu to release them both, keyword both as in 2, which is important later on, from Khonshu's service. So then he's like, fine, you're both released, blah blah blah. We get this weird scene where they're back in the psych ward or the mental health. I don't know what the word is now. Psych ward's kind of an old term.
It's a institution, maybe. No, it's
maybe.
I don't know.
Something like that.
Mental health facility, maybe.
Maybe because I know like psych ward's kind of like some stigma to that kind of like it's for psych ward, But like, so he's back there in Harrow's office where he's playing a psychiatrist, and he's talking about how he's imagining things again and all this kind of stuff. But then they notice that there's a trail of blood every time Arthur walks, probably from the glass that he was wearing in his shoes. And then Mark's like, yeah, do you see that, Steven? He's like, yeah, I see it. And then like Arthur looks down, he's like, why am I bleeding? And then they're like, yeah, we appreciate the diagnosis, Doc, but we're gonna go our own way or whatever type of thing. So then they wake up, that was like a dream, I guess.
They also say later gators to him, which I think is
that's right.
Which is a continuing thing, which is interesting because Ahmet appears in the shape of a gator, alligator or crocodile, whatever the difference is.
There's just a small difference. I always forget which one is which, but
something with their teeth. But
yeah, I think so.
And one tastes more like chicken. I don't know. So, anyways, then what happens here after that scene? They wake up and they're in the apartment.
Yeah, they wake up at Steven's apartment and they're just kind of talking to each other, and then they forgot that their leg was shackled to that thing and fall to the floor kind of thing. They're like, oh shit, whatever, It's like, I can't believe you live in this sort of mess or whatever. And then we roll the credits for a few minutes, and then
before that, though, while they're in the apartment, you do see their fish tank, and it has 2 fish in it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there are 2 fish now, and and then we get credits for like maybe a minute or 2, and then we get like a post-credit scene, and it's Arthur. He's like in a psych ward, or Arthur / Ahmet, and I'm not quite sure, was Arthur dead or is he just like unconscious at that point? Like
I think that's interesting. I don't know if it was Arthur or Ahmet that is in this last scene.
No, but I mean, like when they took Arthur to the thing, was he dead at that point? Was he killed or is he?
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Oh, okay, gotcha. And then
I don't know who is actually controlling the body at this point.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
I'm assuming Ahmet's dead, but I don't know.
Yeah. So they're in the psych ward, and it looks like there's like a bunch of sand in a cup, and then Arthur kind of pushes it, but it's just coffee or whatever, and then the nurse is like, "Oh, okay, it's time for bed now," or whatever, and then this guy shows up, and he's like, "It's okay, miss, I'll take him," and she's like, "No, it's," he's like, "just calm down, it's fine," or whatever. So then she just leaves, and then he pushes, Arthur in his wheelchair, and Arthur's kind of like motioning to the door that he normally goes into, but the guy pushes him in a different direction and starts seeing bodies on the floor. He's like, what? And then outside there's a white limousine, and the guy, kind of roughly just sort of throws Arthur in, the back seat of the limousine, then kicks the wheelchair violently. Like, oh god, we got ourselves a violent guy here. And then, Khonshu sitting in a white suit in the other side of the limousine, and Arthur / Ahmed's like, oh god, really, you can't hurt us, are you serious or whatever? And then Khonshu's like, oh, you thought that I really wanted Layla to be my second avatar? No, that's not true at all. It's Mark has no idea how, troubled he really is or whatever. And then he's like, he knocks on the window and he's like, I want to introduce you to my friend Jake Lockley. And then Jake, who's speaking Spanish, I think, or Espanol, and he's like, now it's your time to lose, and shoots Arthur a bunch of time. And you can see the lights coming from inside the limousine, almost like a Godfather type of scene, and then it just drives off, and then that's it. So apparently Ahmed's dead for real now. So
yeah, apparently.
and then we got Jake Lockley now as probably the new Moon Knight, which is quite scary because he's super, super violent. And
it'll be interesting to see if we have a follow-up of any kind and when it will be, because what I read months ago was that Oscar Isaac only signed on for this one project. So it's still going to be interesting to see where this goes in the future. I do hope we see him or Layla or somebody else again, from this show.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But there is something kind of cool about this not being directly connected to the rest of the MCU as well.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, technically it is. I mean, at least that's what I think Kevin Feige said.
Yeah.
But so far it doesn't really seem like there's really any connection.
There was no characters in this. I mean, there might have been some mentions to things that happened in the other movies, I think, rough mentions, but overall, it's not like, Tony Stark shows up at his door. I mean, even though he's dead, but, it's not like, I don't know, Hawkeye shows up at his door or something, So. Yeah,
exactly. We're going to help you guys out or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. So, I would hope for a second season. If not, then maybe at least
a movie.
Show up. Yeah, either have his own movie or show up in another movie. I always think it'd be cool if he showed up. I don't think they would now because the movie's probably going to be coming out soon. But Black Panther 2: Wakanda Forever, because they did talk about God.
The proper place to show up would probably be Blade.
Blade, yeah, okay.
Because I think I think I would like to see him, and then what was the one guy in the one guy that worked at the museum in Eternals?
I forgot his name.
Not in a museum, but a professor. But anyways, those two, I think it would be interesting to see Moon Knight and both of them show up in the Blade movie, which was kind of teased with the other guy in Eternals. So
yeah, because he's got the ebony blade. Which is interesting. Actually, that's a whole other thing, too. So, am I getting my lore screwed up? Because I watched so many of these videos lately that they're all kind of bleeding into each other. But, because I watch, Screen Crush, New Rock Stars, Super Carlin Brothers, and so many channels, Emergency Awesome. So, a lot of these things just bleed into each other. But am I mistaken in thinking that the ebony blade also comes from the same power that what's the guy's name? Gore, the God Butcher, has his weapon forged to kill gods, or am I just mixing two different things together?
Well, in the story of the Eternals, the Ebony Blade is the character that has it becomes the Black Knight in the future.
Right.
Dane Whitman. There we go.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But so the Ebony Blade itself is according to, like, this is from the comic books, like in this Marvel database. The Ebony Blade was a magical blade forged by Merlin and Sir Percy from the Starsown meteorite. The Ebony Blade was enchanted to cut through any object to prevent the death of its wielder and to deflect any magic, but it also carried a curse that would slowly corrupt any user and cause a lust for violence, bloodshed, and death.
Okay.
According to Null, Knull, Merlin lied about the true nature of the Ebony Blade, and it can only be wielded by the impure of heart, drawing out their negative emotions until they become bloodthirsty berserkers.
What's the point of that?
I don't know.
Why would Merlin do that? Merlin's supposed to be a good guy.
Maybe he lied because he wanted to see if it worked with good people. I don't know.
Yeah, just like a guinea pig. Like, yeah, just try this out. See if it works.
I don't know.
Could be the reason why. Okay, I was just wondering because I was watching the video and they were talking about Gore, the God Butcher, because of the new Thor: Love and Thunder movie coming out soon. And apparently the comic lore, at least, I don't know what they're going to do just for the movie, but was that he like prayed to the gods to like help save his family or whatever, and then they didn't get help, so his family and like his whole people were killed or whatever. So then he pretty much became like an atheist essentially. But then he ended up seeing two gods fighting each other. So then he realized, oh, gods actually do exist. So I did pray to them and they didn't help me at all. So he went from becoming an atheist to what you call a dystheist, which there's actually a word, dystheist. It's a person who believes in God or gods, but actively hates them. Like, there's an actual word for that.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's a difference between an atheist and a dystheist. So he became one of these, and then I guess he, at one point, the good god was winning the fight, but then the bad god, like, basically, like, transmuted himself into, like, a weapon for some reason. I guess so that the other guy could use it again. I don't know, whatever. So basically, it was like a sword of some kind or whatever, and then Gore took the sword and killed the good god, and then that became, like, his goal now is, like, to kill all the gods. But I for some reason, I thought in my mind that somehow that energy or whatever was connected to the Ebony Blade, but it appears not to be the case or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just see where this goes. Hopefully we see some of this come together, and I'd really like to see, like, with the magic direction that the MCU seems to be going in Phase 4.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, I'd like to see some of this stuff, like, kind of, coincide together and coalesce, or whatever you want to call it, kind of just merge together, in a way. So you'd see Blade and Doctor Strange and, some of the Eternals and other people all together, and then Moon Knight.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I guess we'll see what they decide to do, because you never know. I mean, there's, what is it, like 70 or 80 years of Marvel comics they can go through, so...
They,
and then just create whatever they want, too, so...
Well, Kevin Feige said that he wants to continue this whole, like, sort of MCU project all the way into 2030. I'm like, that's 22 years.
Well, he said at least till then. So I mean, it's going to go.
At least
it'll go further than that. I mean, obviously you're going to get to a point where it's going to be diminishing returns, but it's Yeah.
How big can you go before you've lost? I mean, like, Thanos was like, oh my god, that's the end game. It was literally called End Game, the movie. Yeah. But now it's like, okay, well now the new guy is Kang the Conqueror, and it's a multiverse battle. Okay, when's the multiverse thing solved? When is there? You know what I mean? Like, I guess what would be then was all life in the whole multiverse extinguished, so then you gotta fight that guy or girl to basically who's gonna end.
Big Marvel team up where they're just taking on a pickpocketer, and in New York, just a random street guy that picks pockets. That's what it's going to be.
Well, that would be good because you start scaling back your enemies to make them smaller, and then the people in the audience gets used to like regular like street crime people, and then you build back up to the bigger villains. You keep doing this until like 2080.
No, there's going to be a movie where the bad villain is just a 14-year-old kid who steals a pack of gum from a 7-Eleven, and
yeah, and you have to have like the Punisher go kill him for it or something like that. I every crime is equal to me or whatever, But wasn't that kind of his deal for a while, Punisher? He would literally just punish people, like, no matter what type of crime. It was kind of like the Ra's al Ghul type of, like,
I think
every crime
version of him like that, yeah. Anyways, any other final thoughts here before we wrap things up?
No, not really. Just hope, we get... I just hope we get something extra, even if it's just like one episode or something, just... you can't just reveal Jake Lockley and end the whole thing. I mean, that's I mean, you can, but it's,
I think he's going to show up again sometime. Might not be for 5 years even, who knows, but we'll see, hopefully sooner. But anyways, I really enjoyed this series. I think it had a lot of flaws, but it was still good. A lot of pacing issues, but overall it was good. Anyways, make sure you check out our TeePublic, our Patreon, our Facebook, our Twitter, our TikTok, our Instagram, all that good stuff. Yeah. Share the show with your friends, Wear a mask, unless you're a white supremacist who's trying to hide their identity, because, that just seems stupid. But anyways, so well,
they're so proud, so loud and proud, though. They, that's why they're behind the mask. Mm-hmm. I mean, who are they afraid of? That's the thing I don't understand. They're afraid of the cops. I'm sorry to say it, but like a lot of the police are actually like they actually defend like right-wingers. So it's like, if anything, like I mean, not actively defend, but more of like. It does seem like they go after left-wing protesters more than right-wing ones.
Speaking of which, there's if I find it, I might share it in the show notes. There's actually a really good podcast I listened to about the co-opting of the Punisher's logo by corrupt police officers. So, well,
not just them. Anyone who's right-wing may do the same exact thing.
And it's like they interview the creator of the design. So, it's a pretty good podcast talking about
it. The Punisher, as a character, at one point he was actually going after corrupt cops as well. Like, he was not just, it wasn't just like street criminals he was going after, like, he was going after everyone. Like,
so keep that in mind, folks. But until next time, folks, be good to each other, love one another.
Yeah.
Don't be a supremacist. And bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All Too Real 2 podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.